Good morning and welcome, dear friends. Welcome to our spiritual home, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. My name is Charlie Nelson, and I will be serving today as your worship associate. For those of you with visual impairment, I am tall, graying, elderly man with orange shirt and tan pants. We want to acknowledge that here at the church we are standing on the lands of the Tocobaga and Seminole peoples. We offer a warm welcome to the guests that are with us today. We would like to get to know you better and hope that you will join us following the service for coffee hour and refreshments. Our guest today, Nancy Palacios, will lead our service titled Faith in the Fire, How States Are Fighting Immigration Attacks and How Communities Are Fighting Back. Nancy has organized faith communities for over 12 years to stand with immigrant families and fight for justice and dignity. She currently serves as the organizing and membership director at Detention Watch Network, leading national campaigns to end immigration detention and build a world where all people can live freely and without fear. Her work has included statewide and national campaigns to defend immigrant communities, end mass incarceration, and expand pathways to belonging, mobilizing clergy, youth, and directly impacted communities to build power rooted in faith and love. Our music today is provided by our wonderful music director, Bonnie Whitehurst, and our choir. Again, a warm welcome to our Sunday service. Bonnie.
Our first hymn is in your gray hymnal, number 121, We'll Build a Land. 121, and we're going to be singing verses 1, 2, and 4.
Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I want to invite us to take a deep breath together. We are gathered this morning in community in a space that has always been a refuge for people seeking truth, belonging, and courage. I come to you today not just as a community organizer, but as someone who has spent over a decade and a half walking alongside immigrant families, faith leaders, and communities who are trying to live and love freely in a country that often meets them with fear. Across our state and across our nation, families are being torn apart, not just at the border, but in our neighborhoods. Local sheriffs are being turned into ICE agents. Jails are being used as holding centers. And fear is spreading through communities that have already given so much to this country. And yet, even in this fear, I have seen profound courage. I've seen church basements become sanctuaries. I've seen neighbors organize food drives, prayer circles, and marches for dignity. This morning, I invite us to hold that tension, the pain, the power, and the fear, and the faith. As we reflect on what is happening in immigration today and what is asked of us as people committed to love and justice.
Today's chalice lighting words are by Tracy Bleakney, welcoming the stranger. Excuse me, a child journeys far from home, fearful and brave, in need of safe harbor. Guided by this chalice, may we seek to understand the causes of flight, like the comfort of a candle flickering in a window of darkness. Let us welcome this child into our home with warmth, nourishment, and love. Would we not want the same for our own child, lost and alone in a strange land? Unitarian Universalism is a covenantal faith. We will now read together our congregation's covenant. It's on your screen. We will strive for and look for in each other. We move toward justice, peace, and love for both ourselves and the world. And when we fall short, we will seek understanding, reconciliation, and a return to covenant.
And now let us sing number 1, 2, 3 in the Gray Book, Spirit of Life.
Sing in my heart.
words of wisdom today, story for all ages, are "Where are you from?" And you will find it on the screen when our tech gurus get it up there.
Shamile Syed Mendez, where are you from? Jamie Kim, New York Times bestselling illustrator of Take Heart, My Child.
For Julian, Magali, Joaquin, Areli, and Valentino from YSM. For kids from everywhere, from JK.
Where are you from? They ask. Is your mom from here? Is your dad from there? They ask. I'm from here, from today, same as everyone else, I say. No, where are you really from? They insist. I ask Abuelo because he knows everything. And like me, he looks like he doesn't belong. Where am I from? Abuelo thinks, his eyes squint like he's looking inside his heart for an answer. You come from the Pampas, the open, free land, he says. You are from the Gaucho, brave and strong, from the brown river that cleanses and feeds the land, that gives us the grain for our bread, the milk from the cows. You're from the mountains so high they tickle Senor Cielo's belly, where the condor roosts his family and the jaguar prowls the night. You're also from the warm, blue oceans the copper warriors tried to tame. And the elegant palm trees stretch their fingers to caress. You're from the hurricanes and dark storms, and a tiny singing frog that calls the island people home when the sun goes to sleep. From this land where our ancestors built a home for all, even when they were in chains because of the color of their skin. You're from the grandmothers who search for their grandchildren, waiting, always waiting in a plaza, their white handkerchiefs wrapping the sorrow of their thoughts. You come from the sunshine that lights our path in this world and the rain that washes away our mistakes. But Abuelo, I ask, where am I really from? Abuelo laughs. You want a place? He points to his heart. You're from here. From my love and the love of all those before us. From those who dreamed of you because of a song sung under the Southern Cross, or the words in a book written under the light of the North Star. You are from all of us. I am.
Now is the time in the service when we take our offering for the work and welfare of the church. You may drop your donations in a plate when it is passed or donate online. Your generosity is greatly appreciated.
My father's own father, he waded that river. They took all the money he made in his life. My sisters and brothers come work in the fruit fields. Rode that truck till they went down and died.
Some of us are illegal and others not wanted. Our work contract's out and we have to move on. 600 miles to that Mexican border. They chased us like rustlers, like outlaws, like thieves. Goodbye, my one, goodbye, Rosita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus and Maria. You won't have your names when you ride the big airplane. Oh, they will call you
The sky plane caught fire over Las Gachas Canyon. A fireball of lightning and shook all our hills. Who are all these dear friends, all scattered like dry leaves? The radio says they are just deportees.
Is this the best way we can raise our good orchards? Is this the best way we can grow good crops? To die and be scattered, to rot on the topsoil, to be called by no name except deportee.
Goodbye, my one, goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus and Maria. You won't have your names when you ride the big airplanes. All they will call you will be deportee.
Thank you, Bonnie, and our wonderful choir. That was very moving. Now I have to read stuff when my eyes are all wet. In this place where we practice the values of diversity and collaboration, where we provide space for all, may we pause to consider our part in the protection of individual rights and freedoms here and beyond. We will now observe a moment of silence to reflect on these words.
When I first began organizing over 18 years ago, I was undocumented, fresh out of high school, with the hope of being the first in my family to go to college. However, I was told at that moment that I didn't belong. Because I didn't have a social security number, I didn't belong because my parents had fled violence and poverty to seek better opportunities for my sisters and I, and because they didn't do it the right way. But I couldn't take no for an answer. I was top of my class. I had worked hard to get a 5.05 GPA. Had a lot of community service hours. Had everything set up for me to go to college, except a 9-digit number. And a story that said I didn't belong. And at that point, I started looking for resources and opportunities. I started looking for people in the community who had maybe had gotten someone to go to college who was undocumented. No one knew anyone. But they said, we're gonna figure it out. I knocked a lot of doors. A lot of doors were closed. But a door did open. And I was able to go to college as an out-of-state student, even though I had been here since I was 6. At that moment, I shared my story from the pulpit at my church. I'm sorry. And to my surprise, a lot of other students and a lot of other parents came to me after the service saying that their children too were in the same situation as I was. And they also wanted to figure out how their kids could go to college. So I started working alongside other young undocumented youth who are also fighting to go to college. But what they were really fighting was to be seen. And to be able to say, we are here and we belong. Back then, our main focus was federal policy. It was focused in Washington, D.C., and what Congress or the president could do to give us legal status. We were fighting for immigration reform. A couple years later, we were able to get deferred action for childhood arrivals. Many youth who came before the age of 16 were able to benefit from that, including myself. But today, the landscape has changed dramatically. The border isn't just a line between nations anymore. The border is being rebuilt in our states, in our counties, in our daily lives. And right now, at this moment, states like Florida, Texas, and others are quietly carrying out the work of immigration. The work of immigration enforcement in our communities. Often more aggressively than the federal government itself. I want to share with you a little bit of what that looks like in practice. Over the last couple of years, Florida's government, like several others, has taken resources meant to serve communities and redirected them towards fueling fear. Local sheriffs have entered what is called 287G agreements with ICE, which allows them to hold immigrants in local jails until federal agents can take them into custody. State troopers and many other state law enforcement agencies and also county officials have been mandated to cooperate with deportation efforts. So now, instead of looking out for traffic violations on the highways and keeping us all safe, they prey on hardworking men while on their way to and from work on construction trucks. Pulling them over, taking them into our county jails, only to then transfer them to one of our detention centers in Florida, including the Everglades Detention Camp in South Florida. And families, even those with children and who are U.S. citizens, are now living with a daily sense of terror. Parents are afraid to drive their kids to school. Workers are leaving jobs they've held for over 20 years. People are skipping doctor's appointments. Parents are not sending their kids to school because they fear they are going to be questioned about their status. Even those who have been here 20, 30 years. Leaving home to go to work has become an act of courage. As parents don't know if they will return home to their children, and children don't know if they will come home to their parents, or if they'll come home to their parents being taken away to a detention center as a result of a discriminatory traffic stop. These laws don't just enforce borders, they spread fear. They create a climate where our immigrant neighbors feel haunted, where the simple act of living also becomes an act of courage. And the truth is, this is not by accident. State leaders are choosing to play politics with people's lives. They are criminalizing migration to score political points and using law enforcement as weapons against the very communities they are supposed to serve and protect. I want to pause here for a second, because behind every law, behind every policy, behind every statistic that you see on the news, behind every story that you might run across social media, there are people. People like myself, people like my family, people I have encountered in my community, in my church, through the work that I do. A few months ago, I spoke to a woman who's been in Florida for over 20 years. She's raised her kids here. She's worked from the moment she got here in anything she could. She's paid taxes. She's been an active volunteer of her community and her congregation. But after the new state law passed, she lost her job. She lost her job of over 25 years. A job that never cared if she had or didn't have a Social Security number. Her husband was pulled over, supposedly for a broken taillight, which turned out to not be true. And because the sheriff officers collaborate with ICE, he was detained, taken to the local jail, and in a span of 24 hours, their entire world changed. Their children came home from school to find their father gone. They spent almost 3 days trying to locate their father, because the electronic system used to locate people who are detained is not always up to date. Sometimes by the time you locate them, they've been transferred. And if they're taken to the Everglades detention camp, or Alcatraz like they call it, then you actually can't find them in the system, because it's a state-run facility. So sometimes we won't even know where they are. The wife is now trying to hold the family together, trying to save money to pay lawyers, trying to keep the lights on in her home, and praying every day that a bond will be granted so that he can be released. This is the reality of state enforcement. It's not just policy. It's parents separated from their children. It's people living in fear of a drive to the grocery store. It's children who no longer get to go to the park with their parents anymore because they can't risk that. It's children who, when Christmas comes around, they may or may not have their father or mother there. It's parents who don't know if they're going to give their children a holiday because they've lost their jobs. This is just one story. Because of the work that I do, I get calls like this. Excuse me. I get calls like this every single day. I go on social media, and I'm scared to open Facebook because I might run into another post of another community member being pulled over on the side of I-4. Then guess what? I too live with this fear. This too is my reality. That one day it might not be a community member, but that one day it might be a call from one of my family members. Currently, there are over 60,000 people being detained every day across this country. And this administration's goal is to expand the capacity to detain 110,000 people by the end of the year. They just passed the budget earlier this year, where the Department of Homeland Security is one of the largest funded agencies, larger than the FBI. "43 new detention facilities have opened up just this year. There's already been 25 deaths reported that have happened within ICE custody since the end of January. That's more deaths that have happened in a span of a whole administration in the past. That doesn't take into account any deaths that have happened outside of detention facilities while people are being kidnapped. That doesn't take into account deaths that have happened while people are being persecuted by Border Patrol on the street. And that doesn't take into account any deaths that have happened that haven't been reported. These are just confirmed deaths that have been reported. And yet, in all this pain, I also see something else. I see the power of community. When the woman that I was telling you about, when her husband was detained, her congregation stepped in. They raised money for legal fees. They cooked meals for her and her children. They showed up to court. They checked in regularly with her to make sure that someone was there to pick up her kids from school. This is what resistance looks like. It's not just protests, rallies, petitions, but the daily faithful act of refusing to abandon one another. Over the past 12 years, I've worked alongside pastors, rabbis, imams, lay leaders, people of goodwill, people who practice no faith but just believe in justice. People who have turned their faith into a shield for the vulnerable, who have turned community spaces towards safety havens for community members. I've seen buildings such as this be turned into sanctuary for people who are afraid that they were going to be taken away from their families. Literally opening their doors to families facing deportation, or providing meals for families who had lost a loved one. I've seen faith leaders and community leaders do vigils outside detention centers. There's a team of people who are outside the Everglades detention camp every Sunday. And they say they will be there every Sunday until it's shut down. And just like that, those efforts have been rapidly expanding throughout the country because it's necessary. Communities who had never seen a detention center in their community now have one. I've seen these communities organize, advocate, and win. We've had some successes. All of this while pushing local elected officials to stop collaborating with ICE and demanding that dignity be at the center of public policy. This, to me, is the heart of faith. Not charity, but courage. Not pity, but partnership. Not silence, but solidarity. When we talk about welcoming the stranger, it cannot just be symbolic. It has to be active. It has to be a daily choice to stand with those who are targeted and to reject the culture of fear being built around us. The call that I have for you today, and what I invite you to do with me, is that when our communities are under attack, when our communities are being pinned with their backs against the walls, we have to organize. We have to protect, and we have to love without apology. For some of you, it might mean partnering with local organizations that are already doing this work. There are efforts in the region that are actually trying to actively stop 287G agreements from happening. For some of you, it may be joining some of the vigils that happen down in South Florida, or creating your own. For some of you, it might be hosting a Detention 101 webinar or training in your community to inform people around why it happens and how and what they can do. You can offer your space and the congregation as a meeting space for these groups to join and to meet. You may want to show up to court. People are doing their ICE check-ins and having to show up to their courts, and maybe many of them are afraid to show up because they don't know if they're going to be able to come out, and they need a witness with them to accompany them in that rough moment. So if that's something that you want to do, we can help train you specifically on how to do accompaniment. And lastly, speaking out publicly, even when it feels uncomfortable. Because silence is also a form of permission. And as long as local governments and sheriffs are allowed to turn their communities into extensions of ICE, our moral voice is needed more than ever. When I look at what's happening today, I don't just see a crisis, I see crossroads. A moment where we all get to decide who we are, who we want to be as a community, and what kind of community we want to have for our neighbors. A moment where we get to shape what welcoming means and belonging means for our communities. Will we allow fear to shape our laws, our congregations, our relationships, or will we choose to love as our political act and our spiritual resistance? Friends, I believe deeply that the opposite of fear isn't safety. It's solidarity. Fear isolates us, but solidarity reminds us that none of us are free until all of us are free. Every time a congregation opens its doors, every time a neighbor says, "You're not alone," every time a community pushes back against a cruel law, we're building something powerful. We're building belonging. And that is what will outlast every border, every wall, every cruel policy, because love, organized, persistent, and public, will always be stronger than fear.
Our final hymn is number 305 in your gray hymnal, 305, De Colores.
When the sunlight is through, the rhythm that crawls in the show.
friends, as we leave this space today, may we remember the work of justice does not begin at the border. It begins in our hearts, in our communities, and in how we choose to show up for one another. When the state uses fear to divide us, our faith reminds us to choose connection. When families are targeted, our love reminds us to show up with courage. May we move through the world this week with open eyes, open heart, and steady hands, ready to resist cruelty, ready to welcome the stranger, and ready to believe that a different world is still possible, because we are building it together. Amen, and may it be so.
Thank you, Nancy. Your words are difficult to hear, but so need to be heard. So, thank you. As we extinguish this chalice flame, may the warmth of its light remain within us, guiding our steps and our hearts. Let us carry forward the strength of this community, the courage to speak truth, and the hope that transformation is possible. In each breath we take, may we remember that work of love, justice, and healing is ours to continue, both here and beyond these walls. Go in peace, with the light of this gathering to illuminate your way. We okay?